Hey guys, and welcome back. So my first Timberborn colony on hard mode went a little bit south.
Well, all my beavers are dying.
If you've seen the first two videos, you'd understand what I mean. So I had an idea. I decided to go to Reddit and ask the question, what are the best tips for beginners in hard mode on Timberborn? And perfect. And so here we are. In this video I'm going to share with you 5 tips from Timberborn professionals from Reddit, and also a bonus tip at the end which I thought was absolutely awesome, so please do not miss that because you would love it. So let's begin. In my first video I mentioned about pausing the game, and that is actually the first tip of this. Nigh on everyone said in the first part of the comment was pause the game, just like OddGamer75 said. So you don't want time to race away from you when you initially start the game. So make sure you do pause it straight away. That way you can plan. That kind of brings me on to tip number 2, prioritizing. You're planning your colony. Sorry if I butchered your name here. Aquiloto SRMCF. If that is one word, I don't know how to say it, then I do apologise. but by that person, no. The way I view it is just like fire, you have the fire triangle where you got fuel, heat and oxygen. The beavers also have a triangle, if none of you knew this. This triangle includes water, food and long hard wood. Massive. Ooh, yeah. In the form of dams, mind you guys, alright? Just in the form of a dam. So, water, food and dams. Nigh on everyone again emphasised on trying to get the dam built ASAP. You don't really want to bother with anything like houses or anything out for the time being. Literally all you're going to concentrate on is getting down some water, a farm, also some gathering flags as well, and obviously you're going to want to get lumberjack flags as well. Also, everyone kind of mentioned the more the merrier with the lumberjack flags. You know, if you've got more jobs than beavers, then you're kind of doing it right. So we're going to go with that. And when you are planning out your colony, you don't want to worry about how it looks and stuff like that for the time being. Literally get it down so that it's easy for your beavers to walk around. Yeah, you just want to concentrate on surviving these first few droughts basically. So when you're laying out your dam, you want to make sure that you can get as much water storage as you can. So the furthest part we can get to really, without having to build any more platforms or anything like that, is this section here. A little bonus tip, quite a few people said put the working hours up to 20. Beavers don't need fun time at the minute. All they need to do is make sure that we can build and survive. So we have the farm built, all the carrots are planted, ready growing, and that was done by halfway through day 2, which is perfect. We got 2 water pumps pumping away. Well, this one needs a beaver, but yes, we've got 2 pumps built. Right, so speaking of water pumps, let me take you on to a journey to Explanation Station. In my previous video I mentioned how this section here works, and I wanted to kind of go through the innards of the actual building itself, because I don't think that is a 1-to-1 ratio lever, because if it is, then these beavers are absolutely jacked. Which I don't think is quite accurate, even though this one is carrying a log like it's nothing. So I'm going to break it down how this might actually work inside. To do that, I need to explain how gearing works. If you didn't know, gears exchange torque for speed, and vice versa. So for example, a big gear driving a small one increases the speed but loses torque, and a small gear driving a big one will spin slower but give you more torque. And that's kind of what we want here. Try and think of a bicycle when you're changing the gears on that. Now imagine a beaver lifting a 100-kilo log all day with a lever 1-to-1, so you basically pull down 100 kilos flat out for 20 hours. It's not going to happen. So I reckon they're using a mechanical advantage in there, in the form of maybe a gear setup, a gear system. And on that gear system it'd be kind of using a slotted lever mechanism, sort of like this but on the gear. So as the gear's going around, it's pushing the lever up and down, and that little slot is, and that little pin is sliding in this slot. To do this, ideally, I reckon it would need like a ratio of 100-to-1. For example, say if you had a gear with 10 teeth, you'd have to have a gear with 1,000 teeth. That's impractical, that's not going to fit in that. So they could use a multi-gear system, something like a 10-tooth gear turning a 40-tooth, and then going from a 10 to a 25, and then another 10 to a 100-tooth gear. That's a lot more reasonable and practical, and it could fit in there. This way, your output gear would actually be quite a decent size that you would need for this to actually work with this sort of lever and the size of it. And you'll definitely have all the power you'd need to move this log without having to be Ronnie Coleman, for example.
So nobody will lift this heavy ass weight.
But that's explanation station. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I just looked at that and I thought, you know, I wonder how it works. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on to tip number 3. Since we're already here, dam chains. This is from a Redditor called Steel Flame. Basically, if we kind of zoom out a little bit, our original dam is here. Okay. So we've got all this storage back here. That person explained, if you kind of split up the storage in sections, so for example here, you could use this storage and keep that for growing your crops and keeping this area green. But then you could use this section here for emergency water pumping if needed without it affecting this area here. I thought it was a really good idea. That's why I've included it in this video. But yes, definitely a good idea from that Redditor. And tip number 4, while we're still in this section here and they're still building, is do not ignore science. And I mentioned this in my first video, also kind of map dependent, but on this map I would say science is very, very important. We'll get a couple of them in. That kind of annoyed me up at the gap there, but we can sort that out later. I might even get an extra one in when those young beavers grow up and we have some extra jobs, and maybe it's the drought and there's not as many jobs going around. And I'm actually going to high prioritize these 2 here because I want to get 2. I'm going to put 2 beavers in at a time minimum, just so I know that we're pumping those science points up so we can unlock things like dares, as some of you probably noticed. So we need 70 points for that, and then after that, personally for me, I would unlock the Forester. Forester's only 30 points, so that won't take long at all. That way you can start getting some trees down and planted. With the science unlocked, you know, you can start unlocking things like triple floodgates, because by, I think someone said it's minimum of cycle 4 where a bad tide turd water comes down, and that would ruin your settlement here if you're not ready for it. So you could try and unlock these quick time to block this section off here and have it so that the turd water comes down this way and completely bypasses all that, and your colony can stay green and healthy, and you can grow more food, and all your beavers will be happy. Everyone loves a happy beaver. So tip number 5, this one was mentioned by 3 Trace, running at 1 speed and micromanage your beavers. So for example, as you saw here, I've paused this. Once all the carrots are planted, pause this. Those 3 beavers don't need to be in there. Not even 1 beaver needs to be in there while I wait for that. And we've got the pumpers pumping away, and you kind of pick and choose. So for example, these ones here are waiting for logs. So let's just get 2 of them out for the time being and get them chopping logs.
So I've made this bit of a time lapse purely because there's only so much micromanaging someone can watch before it gets a bit tedious, and I've also wanted to explain a few things before carrying on to the next segment. You'll see, like the gathering flags, I'm kind of pausing one and then playing the other, and vice versa, because I'm actually utilising the storage in the gathering flag itself rather than building storage, basically saving the logs for more important buildings. You'll notice as well, in a second, I'll actually place down a lumber mill, ready to go. Yes, people might think that's a later game building, but at this stage, I think it's very, very important to get that down ASAP because of the stairs that you're going to need to build. You'll notice as soon as the carrots start growing, I'll prioritise the farm overall compared to all the other buildings, and also the pumping stations. Yeah, and one of the pumps I've actually paused once the water storage is full. That way I've saved up a beaver for another job. But yeah.
Just a quick one. When you know the drought is coming, just prioritise for the farming gathering. Don't bother planting again because they're not going to grow during the drought anyway. Especially when you know that you haven't got time to build your dam. So just get that done. So get all the carrots in as quickly as you can, basically. So you might be looking at the resources you got left, these trees and logs, and you might think, will I have enough to build this dam here? And if your answer is possibly no, then this is where the bonus tip comes in. I thought this was absolutely genius. You basically use small warehouses as a bridge. Reason being, they're cheap They're only 3 logs each. You don't have to unlock them with science. There's 100 science points you could be saving to unlock something else more important like the Forester or your triple floodgate on this map anyway. And these cost 6 planks, so the logs will go for the lumber mill before you even build it. I just thought this was ingenious. So this to me is kind of like a make or break thing for anyone's colony early on. With this, you could build that, and then you can get across these resources here, and then you have all these lovely oak trees and these extra berries here just in case. Ingenious. I love it. Personally, for me, I'll probably build this before I build the dam, because I know that we've only got a day and a half before the drought is coming in, so I know we're definitely not going to be able to build this in time. But then at least I know if we build this first, we're going to have definitely have enough logs to build that and more. So yeah, that's your bonus tip, guys. Great tip. I loved it. I will admit, these warning signs are very, very annoying, but the payoff for what you get in return is definitely worth it. There we have it, guys. That's the first drought done. We've completed it, and we have a lot of food left. We've got all these berries we can harvest if need be, or gather, sorry. And we've got a fair bit of water left, which will happily last us until the water arrives. Easy. I just wanted to get to the end of the drought just to show to you that it's easily done. It's easily done. If you follow the tips that are in this video, that is. And here it comes, guys. The water's finally arrived. So I just want to say a massive thank you to the wisdom shared on Reddit. And if you have got your own Timberborn hard mode tips that you would like to share, please leave them in the comments. It would be awesome if you can. I love learning about new stuff about these games and stuff like that. And yeah, we can progress and grow. I really do hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe and leave a like. And I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.